As we prepare our hearts and our minds to give today, I first want to communicate with you a very important announcement, and that is we are transitioning to a brand new online giving platform called Tithely. And I know some of you are here today and you would prefer to give in a physical way, and when the bucket is part of your tradition and an act of worship. I do that. Now I write down the amount that I give online, and it's unto the Lord. But about over 80% of you have been faithful in giving, and it happens online. It's easier, you can make sure it happens. And I just want to say thank you for your faithfulness in giving unto the Lord. Because of your giving, we're able to see ministry happen in our church. We're able to give out to missions, and that would not be possible without your faithfulness in giving. So thank you so much. And thank you, Chris. He's our executive pastor of operations. And Chris, I think the question that we need help answered is, why are we making this change?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a big question, because it's a big movement to take a whole church body moving from one platform to another. But the simple answer, you kind of already mentioned it. We want to be good stewards. So the old platform that we're on, it was kind of the flagship for a while, but it had a recurring monthly subscription that we were paying. And also, if you know, when you give, anytime you use a credit card or a debit card or at HEB or wherever, there's a merchant processing fee that you get charged. Well, it's the same thing for us. And for years, we've covered that fee as a church for the giving that's come in. But we were able to negotiate with Tithely, which, by the way, John mentioned this. Tithely is a company that caters to churches. They are on mission for churches and to support churches. So that's another great reason.
We just became aware of them a few months ago.
That's correct.
They're the largest giving platform for churches, serving over 50,000 churches in over 55 countries.
Yeah.
So they do it in a very secure way, easy way.
Yeah, they're trustworthy. They've been in the game for a while. They know what they're doing. They've caught up to the competitors and surpassed them, and it's going to save us upwards of $20,000 a year to make this transition.
Deal.
So that is a big deal for us. And another thing as well is to keep up with the technology. So you may have noticed on the back of the seats, if you're in the front row, sorry, but there are these orange stickers on the back of the seat. Those are near-field communication discs. They're tap discs is what you call. And you can actually hold your phone up to them, and it will link directly to the giving site now instead of scanning the QR code if you have a device that's compatible that will do that.
Yeah. And it just helps us automate the importance. And again, I know with technology, it can be a change from tradition, but a few weeks ago or a month ago, we had a big winter day where a third of the attendance came. How did it affect our giving that week?
Yeah, so our giving, winter storm, we canceled the first service and we only had 2 services. Our giving dropped to less than half of what we would have normally gotten on that Sunday. Mm-hmm. So it's a big impact. And then this summer, people go on vacation, hit or miss, ministry continues on, right? That's right.
So I want to encourage you to consider either if you are a previously recurring giver, you'll have to get off the old platform, and you can do that at a table in the lobby where we have a presence to answer any of your questions. So that would be your first step. And then you can join others, maybe for the first time, setting this up. So why don't you walk us through the steps of how to do this?
Where you can sign up. If that doesn't pop up immediately, there's a menu on the upper right corner where you can click on that menu button, and it will ask you to enter your first and last name, a phone number, and an email address. There's other ways to sign up. You don't have to use your phone number. You can also use Google login or a Facebook login, those kinds of things. But a phone number would work just as fine. And it will send you a code, and it will confirm your identity. And then you would need to set up a payment method. And as I discussed, you can set up a credit card or a bank account just like you would have in the old system and have that ready to go. And then you're able to create your gift. But the other thing I want you to be aware of, and this is a little different than before, is now there's an option on the screen on whether or not you want to cover those merchant processing fees. So you don't have to, you don't feel obligated to do that. In the past, we have always done that, but that's another way you can help your gift go a little bit further. So after you set up your payment method, you can decide if you want to do that or not. But I also want to encourage people, my family does this. Another option is to set up that recurring giving. And, we do this. I know when my paycheck is coming in each week. I know what it's going to be. So I've automated that so that I don't forget it. It's important. I don't ever want to miss that. As I've grown in maturity with the Lord and walking with Him, He has honored my faithful giving. He's blessed us every step of the way. And I just think it's important, and it's an opportunity for you to make sure you don't miss and you put God first with your giving.
Amen.